Hi, everyone. Welcome to Venture Underground. As usual, burrowing underneath the surface like a groundhog. We'll come up. Will we see our shadow? That means what? 6 more months of an AI bubble? I don't know what the equivalent is, but I am Sarah Lacey, and I am here as always with my co host, Adeo Ressi. And speaking of AI, we are going to talk all about AI. Usually, we talk all about venture capital, and we were going to talk about your recent trip to the Middle East, but you and I had a fascinating conversation yesterday about your whole open claw setup, and like I couldn't get enough of it. And then you put up this post on social today about a boot camp you're going to do that's gone viral. This is fascinating to me as someone who is like only living vicariously through the stuff that you're building and is like so not someone building stuff with AI. You even got me excited about this. Talk to us about, first of all, the necessity to be able to build this stuff and what's now available to people, who should be using these tools, how you figured out the ideal setup.
I'm an early adopter. I just am. I like tech. I like buying things early. I like trying things early. I was one of the earliest users of LLMs, probably in the first few thousand. I was like tinkering with it. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm telling all my friends, like, search is dead. All this stuff is going to change. And everyone's like, ah. So basically, we got stuck for quite some time in what best could be described as like the clippy autocomplete era of LLMs and AI, which was like these LLMs were really amazing, but they were like about as amazing as Clippy was. It would help you do something, but it itself really couldn't do stuff besides tell you what to do. Now, something changed pretty dramatically, and it kind of happened all at once, right? The LLMs got really smart very quickly on how to use a computer. And then all of a sudden, the LLM could like do stuff on its own, like browse the web, like read and write to APIs. It started to have powers. But these powers were constrained by the developers because they were worried, wow, these LLMs have powers. What happens if we unleash them on the world? They could wreak absolute havoc. And so we're just going to put them in a box. And this is only about 3 months ago. And there was like Comet, and there was this browser by OpenAI, and they made browsers, but the browsers were limited. They could not do anything. So what happened about a month and a half ago is a developer in Austria was like, hey, what happens if I just rip the Band-Aid off, throw the LLM outside the sandbox, and like, what happens if it could just do anything on your computer, anything on the internet, read any email, do anything? Like, let's see. And like, it works. It works really well. It does pretty much anything. It can do anything a human can do, literally anything that a human can do with a computer. These LLMs can now do. And the second thing that this developer in Austria did that was pretty interesting. So is anyone who's used an LLM quite a bit realizes like if you talk to it for a while, it suddenly starts acting really weird because it like forgets why you're talking. And so you would have these chats where it was like one thing at a time and it had very little memory. And because of the way this developer built the memory, these new AIs that are coming out, and the main one is now OpenClaw, but there's clones of OpenClaw. It's like having a team member. And it gets even crazier from there.
This only happened a month and a half ago. What were some of the first things you started using it for?
Let me give you a little secret here that's going to save everybody who listens to this a ton of time. It is so intelligent that you can just tell it, set yourself up. This is the setup I want, right? I want you to connect to my email. I don't know how to connect to my email. Figure it out. It's like a PhD level intern. If you give it a little push, it will be like, use its PhD skills and figure anything out. So I'll give you some examples. Like the first thing I did was like, oh, I get all this garbage in my email, read all my email and get rid of all the garbage. And it did it. It found all the garbage, marked it, and archived it. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty impressive. So the first real AI that I built, it's sitting on my desk right here. I call her Clara because it encourages you to give them a name. And it's my assistant. Every half hour, it reminds me of the upcoming appointments, gives me links to join them. It tells me what big emails have come in. It tells me key things on my task list. I can talk to it through voice and it's like an assistant. Anything I need it to do, it will do like an assistant would do. But here's the crazy thing, Sarah. You can have as many of these things as you want on a computer. There's probably a limit that I'm nowhere near. And I've heard told that somewhere around 12 to 20, you reach the capacity of a single machine to run AI agents, but you can have more than these. So Clara's trained like an assistant and they build skills. Like she knows how to read my email. She knows how to do my task system, all these kind of like assistant like things Clara can do very well. But then there are other things like I built a customer support rep to do some mundane tasks on the company that no one wants to do, like out of office emails, unsubscribe requests. These things don't need to be processed by a human being. They need some sort of system that can figure out what it is and handle it. And so what you can start to do is say, like, what are roles that human beings do today that might be tedious or time consuming? And so just to give you a sense of scale, I've easily saved 10 hours a week. I'd say it's probably more, but I'm going to say I know that it's 10 hours a week. And then on top of that, I have like a huge force multiplier of productivity. I'll give you an example. Okay. So today I have another AI that I'm using, and I wanted to get all the information ever written in one of my companies and kind of put it into structured data so that I could create an AI to respond to any employee's questions about how the company operates, right? And the company's been around for a long time. So there's tons of documents, like thousands. So I was like, go read all these documents. Like literally no one will ever do this. Took an hour. This is an AI moving at hyperspeed. And then I'm like, create a knowledge base of everything in every document, not duplicated, so that I can then train another AI to respond to any employee's questions about anything like, what's the vacation policy? Where do I find this document? Or I need a presentation to use with a customer. And so all of that knowledge was pulled out of like thousands of files, put into one document that I can load in and train. And like, that just would not have ever been possible ever before today. And it literally took one prompt, go read all this stuff in here and summarize it. So on top of saving me at least 10 hours a week, on top of a huge force multiplier on things that I wouldn't otherwise be able to accomplish as quickly or as efficiently, et cetera, it's allowing me to do things that were otherwise impossible to do.
It's amazing. So you're an early adopter. You're also someone who's quite technical. I mean, what is the level of technical expertise that you have to build something like this?
Not low. If you're a total Luddite, you're going to be like, oh, this is hard, right? But here's the thing, it's so smart that you just tell it what you want to do and it will figure it out. There's something called their soul. It's called the soul.md. And that's sort of like their core operating instructions. And every one of these has a different soul, of course, and you define what that soul is. So one of the opening things is like, you will try every possible thing before you come back to me and ask for help. And by the
Yeah.
way, you know what happens? They don't come back and ask for help anymore.
We've hit this inflection point where AI is fundamentally doing different things than it was a month and a half ago. Can we talk about, like, who are winners and losers in this category? I mean, we're now to the point where you can really see differences between these models, right?
All of these model providers have different model sets that they offer for the most part. Claude has three. It has something called Haiku, which is their cheapo one, Sonnet, which is their mid range, and Opus, which is their top range. If you're using Opus right now, it's fairly indistinguishable from AGI. It's AGI. After Anthropic models, particularly Opus, the field is a little murkier. There are things that X does really well, X.ai and Grok. It's very aware. It's like aware of the world because it's very tied to the X platform, and the X has a lot of data in it. You have chat GPT models. They're also fairly good. I would say they're like a solid number two, well rounded. But the interesting thing is what's come a lot in the number two position right now are low cost Chinese model. In my experience, the winner there is this model called Kimi by a company called Moonshot out of China. And Kimi is literally 1/20th the cost of Opus and like 10% less good. So it's like maybe even 5%. It's like right on the heels. That 5 or 10% difference means a lot. So I'll give you an example. When you set up your systems, you want the setup to be perfect because if there's a mistake in the setup, then every update it gives you could be wrong. Every time it checks something, it could break. So you want the setup to be perfect. So you want to use a model, the best possible model to do the setup. And then if it's like gets a couple words wrong in an email or something like that, who cares? Then you use the model that's slightly less good, but costs 20 times less money. And that's right now a Chinese model called Kimi. But there are amazing Chinese models like Quen, which has a model that's so small, you can run it on your computer. It doesn't need to connect to the internet. And it's a little worse, but way better than things were three or 4 months ago. Let's say you want to have something read really sensitive information like financials or private emails that might include wiring instructions or stuff like that. You would use maybe something like the Quen model locally on your machine. So it's not communicating any sensitive data through the cloud. And it can do much of what these other models can. And it's totally free.
I mean, this is what I found so fascinating when we were talking about this the other day. It's like this idea of like Opus kind of being the brain, and then like Kimmy and Kwan sort of being, the like arms, legs, whatever, which is so fascinating because it's like that was the global economy before everyone became much more protectionist in many ways.
It turned out that that design constraint of not having unlimited power to build a model meant two things that China was able to do very well. First, they were able to make much smaller models because you need much more compute to make a bigger model. So they made much smaller models that performed really well. And smaller models are cheaper to make, they're cheaper to run, and therefore they're much cheaper to use. I was spending $100 a day on my initial assistant setup. And I'm like, now when you divide that by 20 or so, and it starts being like $5 or $10 a day, then you're like, oh, that's not so bad. Then all of a sudden the economics start making sense. I'm probably in the $50 a day range. and I've got a few different agents doing a few different things. I probably have like the equivalent of a team of 5 people, and I'm spending on average $10 a day per person.
Mhm, mhm. That's fascinating. And what's so cool about that is, like, for people who wanna just, like, experiment with this stuff and understand what it's doing, it's like those low cost models give them a way to do it without just throwing a ton of money at it, right?
So if I were you going into this product as a first time, I would probably either start with a subscription of OpenAI and use your OpenAI key, which they don't let you do with Claude, but they do let you do with OpenAI. So if you have like a $20 a month package with OpenAI, you can use it as the brain. Or I would just start with Kimmy, and you have to get a license, and you'll save in either case a lot of money and be able to do a lot of stuff. OpenAI stuff is good, but it's rate limited, meaning that you'll run out of, it will say like, out of tokens, can't do any more for today. And you'll be like, no. Um, and Kimmy's unlimited, but you pay as much as you use, but it's just not very expensive.
Before we run, it's like I want to get back to this idea of like who are the winners and users because I will always and forever, in some level, be a business journalist. So it's like, if it's like you're either going to pay up to get the best or you're going to go for a bargain. So if this continues to be the case, what does this mean for OpenAI's $750 billion valuation? Because you also have this situation where your buddy Elon has merged all of his companies together. So he's kind of like turned it into Amazon where loss leaders are tied to growth markets. So it's like Sam Altman, my buddy, haha, doesn't have that advantage of a diversified, revenue stream that's tied to this very expensive business.
They're all going to win. What's going to happen, which is already starting to happen, is that the models will start to get rough parity in their features. Anthropic's a little bit ahead consistently, but not by so much that you couldn't swap it out for a GPT 5 something and get very good experience, right? It's just not as good, but they have other differences. OpenAI has a certain personality. It's also getting to know you. Claude is much more technical with a kind of different, more business-like personality. As I mentioned, X.AI has the knowledge of what's happening in the world. And so they all have a place. And when something becomes a super big mass market, not everyone drives a Ford. Not everyone drives a Tesla. There starts to be consumer choice. There'll be lots of room for everyone to have market share. And the real winner, though, is the consumer. This is still the early adopter moment. But I mean, I had a feeling that the first $1 billion single founder company would be founded in 2026, but I had no idea how. Now I do, because you can buy 5 Mac minis. Each one of them can have a team of up to 20 people on them running local LLMs, cloud LLMs. So with 5 things, you might be at somewhere like 100-person company from day one, able to do anything that a company could do. So you could have I'm working on a sales development rep to go find opportunities in the world and reach out to them. I'm working on all sorts of different AI personalities to do different tasks. So someone young, smart, or whatever age, frankly, hungry, could just say, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to design 100-person company. I'm going to buy a few of these machines. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to set it out there. I'm going to be optimizing it, and it can learn on its own, and it's just going to win. There's stories right now, people making tens of thousands of dollars using these things to trade in poly market and other things, making money doing all sorts of like little stuff. But when you have 100 agents working together, you can start making money on big things.
All right. We will see y'all in the next episode where we will talk about the Middle East trip. Bye, everyone.